live in a gated community, but not by choice. Gates, fences, barricades, limited street access, closed lots, and then some. By now, you've heard the stories from the folk who've lived this nightmare. Business owners have lost customers. A charter school lost students. A veterinarian lost clients. Churches have lost members. And still, procrastination Crenshaw sits unfinished. And when I say sits unfinished, I mean sits unfinished. Nobody was seduced by the Jedi mind trick they tried to play when they ran that headline on the front page of a local black newspaper about the project restarting in weeks. I mean, come see for yourself. The only trucks on Crenshaw are deconstruction trucks. It took a minute, but to her credit, LA Mayor Karen Bass showed up and she's leaning in on getting our parking back. But think about this for just a second. LA is not Chocolate City, and yet we are blessed to have a black mayor and a black city council president. But where is the black city council president? Where is Marquise Harris Dawson? This is his project in his district, but he has been strangely quiet. Did you notice in the recent Los Angeles Times story about procrastination Crenshaw that neither Marquise Harris Dawson nor Destination Crenshaw had a word to say on the record? The silence was deafening. When people ask me why the silence, all I can say is, good question. As a reminder, the Crenshaw Corridor community sent him a letter, and it laid out real demands: a public timeline, relief for the businesses that have suffered, and an audit. At the moment, the last one matters most, the audit. Here's the thing, the foundation money, the private donations, that's their business. But this project is also funded by city money, state money, and federal money. I refer you back to the front page story in that black newspaper where they all talked about this. Go read it again. In any event, it's your money. And when public money goes into a $100 million project that still sits unfinished, the public has a right to see where every dollar went. Contracts, budgets, payments, schedules. That's not too much to ask. Again, it's your money. Our letter gave Mr. Harris Dawson a deadline, Friday, September 4th, to respond. The clock is ticking, Mr. President. 12 hours to mind the public's business. And this is one of them. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
How do you want it? Take me back to LA. Take me back to LA. Take me back to LA. I've laughed and I've cried. I've lived and I've died. Stole from, gambled and cheated. Cut corners outside. I've tried and I failed. Stood tall when they run. I fought a cold war in the dead of the hot sun. Now take me back to LA. Where the weather is good. Take me back to LA.
KBLA Talk 1580. And I pose the question, what happened? What actually happened with the LA Jazz Festival? And being completely transparent, the man in the studio before me this morning is one of my closest friends. He is the president and CEO of Bridge Street Incorporated. You know him to be the former head of the LA Federation of Labor, a former council member for the 10th District. I worked with him on numerous projects, both on stage as well as backstage with the Summer of Success in Baldwin Village when he was over that council district. He is the visionary, creator, founder of the LA Jazz Festival. Martin Ludlow, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique. Thanks for having me here. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. I mean, and as I've said many times on this show, I am on the board of the LA Jazz Festival Foundation. I've been a big cheerleader and supporter of this project since I first heard about it. I think you've been working on it for about 15 years.
Yeah, 15 years.
But these conversations are tough because I keep on my professional hat and interview you, as is my job, but also you're my friend. So, and I have a personal stake in this. So I do my best to be as transparent about that as possible through the conversation. Let's start with the shocker that everyone received a little over a week ago, that the LA Jazz Festival, which you've been working on for 15 years and I've been talking about for at least a year or two, was canceled at the last minute.
Yeah. So parts of it were being canceled earlier than, the opening night. And I think as folks will remember, first let me just say, I'm heartbroken, devastated in many ways. And we've had a lot of wins. We've had a lot of incredible productions. And it's always difficult to have that big loss. And I was doing an interview yesterday with LA Times, and LA Times reporter was just sort of asking me about, how do you recover from this? How does your business recover? And I said to him, well, it's not easy, but I look at a lot of, professional coaches and folks that got to go out and they're going to lose a game. No matter what they did last year, what they did the previous seasons, they got to come back out. They got to figure it out, and they got to come back because they got another game coming up in front of them. And it's easy, I think, sometimes in this different world to look at them just as, oh, that's just sports. That's just, sort of a fun game. But it really is. Everybody's under a microscope if you're, monitoring a team that's, sort of beloved in that community, and you end up losing a really big game. It's really hard for folks to recover. And I'll never forget some of the young kids that I coached and mentored, seeing them go through that tremendous emotional low if they missed a pass or missed a touchdown or whatever. And so I'm going through that myself right now. The punchline is we were getting very, very close. We're about 30 days out when we got notified that here's the final decision by, public safety, law enforcement, fire, county of LA. And the final decision really was, here's what it's going to cost. We've been meeting with you for 4 to 5 months in intergovernmental roundtables. We've all been trying to figure it out. We spent over $1.5 million on industry professionals, everything from transit professionals, parking professionals, what we call people flow professionals, how to ensure that a crowd is moving in and out safely and quickly and efficiently. The idea of building something on Dockweiler Beach, which was really the premier moment of the whole festival, that has never been done before, ever in the history of the state of California. And when we got right down to it, the numbers that we were looking at that they were giving to us to pay sort of government was staggering. And when you added it all up between their costs and the cost to build what they were telling us we had to build on the ground, was really out of our reach. And so we scrambled. I spent a good week reaching out to millionaires, billionaires, just about everybody that I could say that, look, this is gonna fall apart if we don't do something right now. And then at the last moment, when I realized that we were not going to get that savior, we weren't going to get that last big influx of money, I pivoted, went to AEG to see if we could get the Peacock Theater for our Sunday show. They said yes. Went to Greek Theater to see if we could get their facility for the Saturday show. They said yes. And so we thought at the last minute, let's save the weekend and, we'll sort of figure out a way to create that vibe and still make it fun. But 24 hours before the announcement that we were going to completely postpone, I got a call from 2 of our major headliners saying that they were not coming with us over to the pivoted location. And with those 2 exits, we lost a major round of funders, 2 people and 2 organizations in particular, and there was just no way to recover at that point. So we had to really make the hard decision. And that last weekend was really where all of the resources were coming into to cover all of the free shows that we were trying to build.
Right. So let's backtrack a little bit for people that, didn't follow every step of this, but are now caught up in the social media frenzy around it. LA Jazz Festival is your vision to create a festival that offered free shows, 1 free show in the park in every council district, jazz after
and beyond, all the way out to Moreno Valley, Palmdale, Inglewood, Compton. We were really bringing it to parks all over Southern California.
And also small restaurants and
Absolutely.
venues. and in addition, convene a roundtable of different festival organizers, like a panel, to do tours around the history of the beach and access to the beach and, jazz itself. All of this was part of something that was supposed to run from the 7th through the 23rd of August. And when you say the first time it's ever been done, I hear people say, well, we have the Lamert Park Jazz Festival and the Gardena Jazz Festival and the Playboy Jazz Festival. And so I think people are not understanding what you mean. So let's start there. What were you trying to do, and what would make it, should it happen in the future, what would make it the first? Because there's pushback
right.
on that.
And I think some people have described it as the first jazz festival in LA, and that's farthest from the truth. In fact, I remember one reporter that says, how does it feel to be bringing jazz to LA? I'm like, jazz has been here for over 100 years. We're not bringing jazz to LA. But, it's really inspired by the incredible international jazz festivals worldwide that really are sort of like harvest season within those cities where they're major takeovers. If you're in New Orleans for New Orleans Jazz Festival for those 2 iconic weeks, it really is a moment where everybody in the city lives and breathes around the moment that all of the international tourists are coming in from around the world, because it is a unique, significant citywide experience, the activations and so forth. Montreux, which is probably one of the most attractive of them, very much on the beach, the cove setting. It is, all the restaurants are activated at night. If you haven't had a chance to be there, it's not cheap to get there, but if you ever get a chance to get to that, you'll see the vision of what it means to have a whole city take over. Montreal, which actually in Detroit have gotten over 1 million people to their international jazz festival. That's very different. I was very grateful for the support of a lot of the local jazz festivals, because the goal of this was to try to lift the whole ecosystem and to try to really put LA on the map from having a similar size festival that you'll see in other cities like a Newport, Rhode Island, like a Cape Town, South Africa. And we have not had something of that scale here in Los Angeles, and that was the intent.
And so, and the other, thing that I've heard is, why start so huge? It was, maybe it was too big to stand up that quickly, that even though you've been working on it for 15 years, but at that scale.
No, so the original idea was to put this on Dockweiler Beach, and that was a very intentional effort to really elevate the narrative of the African and African American experience here in the United States, given that jazz was founded by our ancestors that were brought into this country across the ocean. First moment that we experienced it was on the beach. We have been denied access to that beach, whether it's the ability to purchase properties, whether it's in some cases our properties that we own were taken from us. Bruce's Beach, Viceroy Hotel, Ebony Beach Club. And to do that festival on the beach required a vote of the California Coastal Commission. Since 1970s, the Coastal Act has essentially said you can't privatize the beach. Most of us think about that through the lens of you can't privatize it to build a building. Well, that act, that law, takes it all the way to any level of a privatization, whether it's a long-term permanent structure or it's a part-time event structure. We fell under that category. To address that, we had to agree that 75% of our tickets would be free. The only way to make the economics work on something that was going to truly cost millions was to find a path where you could still do paid tickets on the beach. So that's when we started to build it out even larger than the original vision, so that we were including all of these different moments across Southern California that would essentially go into the formula of a major festival and allowing us to keep 75% of those tickets for free. If the 25% that you're charging for are right there on the beach, the math absolutely works. So that was when it really started to grow tremendously to the size. And, I'll tell you, we came very, very, very close. By the way, we ended up spending over $1 million, almost 1.2 million on musicians. And I just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Well, that part of the number that we spent is making sure that both businesses and musicians were covered. There's still work to be done, but just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I want to talk more about that when we come forward. Martin Ludlow is here. What really happened to the LA Jazz Festival is our topic, and that question of, what happens next, who's holding the bag, all that, and your future plans are straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where the overlooked become unmissable, this is KBLA Talk 1580. The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580. Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive. Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for Unapologetically Progressive Radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
And Martin Ludlow is here. He is the creator of the LA Jazz Festival. And of course, when you first told me about it, I did see your vision, this giant, party on the beach, but also the socially innovative piece, which marks all of your work, whether it be in the city council, whether it be, at the LA Fed, whether it be with Bridge Street, where you produced all of those concerts inside the prisons for Common, and the Labor Day music festivals that we did at Exposition Park, and the Dr. King event, a huge Dr. King event in Memphis. I mean, you tend to have a socially innovative component even to the entertainment stuff. It's your sweet spot. And so I saw the vision. I was very excited. I still see the vision, and also heartbroken that it seems to have crashed and burned. You point out that you spent $1.2 million, did you say? You have already spent on musicians. Is that deposits?
Deposits.
That's
deposits.
Just what you needed to pay them to secure their attendance on those performance dates.
Yeah, and that was really the heart of the festival. We had I think almost 160 artists from 18 nations that we had confirmed. And I will acknowledge that there still are a couple whose contracts were going back and forth, didn't get countersigned. There's about 20 of them that did not get their deposit, but the balance of them did. And so I'm working morning, noon, and night to, with the moment, to your point, of the burn and crash, trying to pull the money together to cover those deposits, and I will. And that's an absolute guarantee if those musicians are listening. But to the other 130 of them, I've been on the phone pretty much daily. I've got more calls to make. The calls have been incredible. Almost every artist that I've spoken to have said, listen, love the vision, I'm hoping you allow us keep the deposit. I said, absolutely. And then third, can you put us on the next show? Because we love working with you. And that's been the majority of the calls. And so, I'm heartened by that. I'm grateful for it. And I think that for hardworking musicians who are living their life, it's tough. It is tough. And you're working show to show to show. You live off of those shows. I think there was I don't think there was just a passion about getting paid. There's a passion, to your point, about the vision of the festival, and people felt a lot of pride in the narrative. And it wasn't, just a solo item. I think I heard one musician talking about his family, remembering the days of the inkwell and having to be forced to go to the inkwell just to access the beach safely. And so there was all kinds of stories like that are very passionate and made people feel differently about, obviously, the postponement.
So, and I want to be clear about this because I'm seeing so much stuff on social media and even some of these articles that are being published in what I would call mainstream press, that you don't get to put those major artists, you don't get to put John Legend's name on a flyer without a deal with him. It's not, you can't just make that up. You'll be sued, you'll be shut down, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, this idea that it was all just a big phony thing that was never actually going to happen is, to me, that's based on a lack of understanding of how the entertainment business works.
Oh, yeah. And I've sort of been avoiding social media because it is brutal. But yeah, those artists were very much looking forward to being there. And the only thing I can say publicly is that I apologize to everybody involved that we were not able to pull it off. But it was painful down to the last, 24 hours. And a lot of those musicians were very much looking forward to being there. And like I said, I've been on phones just almost every day talking to different artists. And the conversations we were having with LAPD, LA Fire, the County of LA, those were very real conversations. And just, again, we had almost 100 people working on the festival for 5 months. That was a large payroll every month. Those, if anything, those people right now are just really saddened because they were looking forward to seeing the fruits of their labor finalized. But yeah, we met as an executive team every Friday. That conference call was massive. Our talent reps were on the call. I feel bad for those guys because obviously, a lot of relationships get impacted when a festival doesn't go through or a tour doesn't go through. And there have been a lot of tours and a lot of festivals that canceled just over these last couple of months. I
mean, the industry, the business is struggling in general. Is that the economy? What do you attribute that to?
I mean, it's all of the above. I'm not quite sure why the Brooklyn Jazz Festival postponed or canceled. They postponed or canceled on the Saturday before we did. There have been a number of tours that were announced that had postponed. There are some people tracking what they call blue dot fever, where consumers worldwide have been sort of pushing back on price points. Consumers have been really reluctant to spend they just economically for a household to try to make a decision on how they're going to spend that precious, paycheck that they have. It's a real thing. And so you have to be creative. I think what you saw in World Cup was just incredible turnout, particularly for the free events. Where they were free events, there were just tens of thousands, if not millions of people. So I think consumers worldwide are looking for a really good bargain for what they're paying. And if they can get really good entertainment, really good cultural experiences where it doesn't cost their family anything, there's a real interest in that.
You're right, of course. But
yeah.
Okay, there's so many things to address here. When you talk about, we only have 3 minutes to news, traffic, and sports. We'll continue on the other side. So let me go here. For folks who say, well, this is like a fire festival, what do you say to those people?
Well, there was one person that was quoted in the paper, and I really appreciate it. I don't know who it was. And they were like, look, I've been in meetings with this guy. I've done tours of sites. This was a absolute commitment to creating a cultural moment that's free and open. We were talking about opening up public beaches, public parks, as you said, community restaurants. This was never about, having some high-end, consumers flying to some destination location that really hadn't had any of the pre-planning. In fact, at the end, the ultimate decision on why we didn't move forward is we knew we could not afford what was being asked of us to ensure that it would come off in the way that government was mandating. That's when we stopped. We didn't stop when people were already on site.
Yeah, and honestly, I want to get to that after news, traffic, and sports. Like, how do we, as a community, as a government, as public safety, support entertainment in what's supposed to be the entertainment capital, or one of the entertainment capitals of the world, and what the breakdown was there. But when we talk about the Fire Festival concept, there's also receipts. It's not like, I am not privy to all of them, but I know, because I've done business with you, there's contracts for everything, there's blueprints for everything. This is not a fly by the seat of your pants operation at all. There is a paper trail.
Oh, absolutely. No. And to your point, we went through, look, I think most folks can contact their local council member, and the council member will tell them, no, look, the team came by, they did site visits. We chose the parks in the 15 council districts based on the desires of those council members. Those interagency task force meetings that we held out at Dockweiler Beach happen every month. There's probably 60 people involved, representing everybody from the Coast Guard to LAX to City Fire, County Fire, City Police, County Sheriff, Caltrans, CHP, City of El Segundo, City of Manhattan Beach, County Department of Beaches and Harbors. The roster was extensive, and we were meeting with them every month. And our blueprints, to your point, were getting more intense, more significant, and more detailed by the month. Also, just all of the people that were involved, from talent managers to on-the-ground producers to public safety experts. We had the former assistant police chief of LAPD that was working with us between the departments. And we had the former planning director of the city of LA working with all the planning departments. The folks that do Coachella, traffic, this was a unique challenge to pull this off. And we brought in the best in the world. And I think we were all stunned at what we saw at the last minute. And there was just no way to move forward. And it ended up being a postponement. And that's really it at the end of the day.
I want to find out more about postponed till when, and pull more receipts. LA Jazz Festival is our topic, and you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. The investigation continues into a shooting at a Robbins, Illinois restaurant that left Black Mayor Darren Bryant with minor injuries. Village spokesman Sean Howard.
Fortunately, it was isolated. The mayor wasn't the intended target, and we're just praying for everyone involved.
Authorities say the suspected gunman was fatally shot by a private security guard, while a restaurant employee was also wounded. A black 18-year-old North Carolina woman is facing child abuse and assault charges after authorities say Saisha Jaden Johnson took abortion pills late in her pregnancy and gave birth at home at 31 weeks. The baby survived, and she, along with the baby's father, posted a $1,000 bond with charges pending. And LL Cool J is bringing the Rock the Bells Festival back to Newark this fall. The November event at Prudential Center will feature performances by Lil' Kim, SWV, and Method Man and Redman as part of the celebration of Hip Hop History Month. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
There's a problem with the Lakers' $12.5 billion sale to Joshua Kushner and former Disney chairman Bob Iger. Jeannie Buss, who owns 17.8% of the Lakers, is refusing to give up her percentage of the franchise. A court order in 2017 gave Jeannie and her 4 siblings the right to block any sale of the Lakers without their approval. The 4 siblings have agreed to give up their percentage, but Jeannie is holding out. The court order indicates that all 5 children of former Lakers owner Jerry Buss must agree to give up their percentage. Jeannie has gotten her lawyer involved and is prepared to go to court to resolve the matter. One of the issues is that Jeannie wants to remain the Lakers representative at the NBA Board of Governor meetings. The Dodgers pulled away for an 11-5 win at Colorado Monday night. 2 homers by Shohei Ohtani, a 3-run shot by Max Muncy. no debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Ooh-wee, Fridays just got better. What's up? I'm Amanda Seals, and this is your invitation to come and sit with me. Yes, get seated as I do my thing on KBLA Talk 1580. We're talking noon to 2 p.m., then back again 4 to 6 p.m. Same day, same station. Bring your opinions, because you know I'm going to have mine. Bring your questions, because you know I got answers. And bring yourself, because, baby, we want you to be authentic at all times. Fridays on KBLA Talk 1580. I'll be waiting. Join me.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dionne Raymond, Justice Correspondent and host of the Justice Files. For years, LA City Councilman Curran Price has served his district. And for years, he's been under a legal cloud which, frankly, looks thinner every time it's tested in court. Last Friday, a Superior Court judge refused to throw out the corruption case against Price. That's true. But listen to what the judge actually said while doing it. Judge Larry Paul Fidler called this not a great case. Not our words, his. Price's attorney, standing right there in the courtroom, said it plainly. In denying our motion, the court acknowledged that this is not a great case. We agree. Now, that's not a ringing endorsement of a prosecution. That's a judge saying, essentially, there's just enough here to send it to a jury. Barely. The ruling itself says nothing about guilt. It's not proof of wrongdoing. What it is a low bar, cleared by a thin margin, on evidence the court itself has called circumstantial. Councilman Price has pleaded not guilty. He denies the allegations. And after 3 terms representing his district, he's term limited and on his way out of office, regardless of how this case ends. Which raises a fair question. What exactly is served? By dragging a longtime champion for working families in South Los Angeles through a trial that even the presiding judge doesn't sound confident about. We're not saying elected officials should not be held accountable. They should. But accountability means something different from a prosecution that struggles to convince the very judge overseeing it. Curran Price deserves his day in court, and he deserves the presumption of innocence any one of us would want for ourselves or a loved one, especially when the bench itself has doubts. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dionne Raymond, Justice Correspondent and host of the Justice Files. As always, we welcome your feedback.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio, KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back indeed. Martin Ludlow is with me. He's the CEO of Bridge Street Incorporated and the man behind, the visionary behind the LA Jazz Festival, which was abruptly canceled right before the opening day here in Leimert Park. You know, a lot of us are heartbroken. You referenced at the beginning of the conversation that shortly before opening day, fire and LAPD come with numbers. This is what we need, and we're talking dollar numbers.
Yeah, so it was not just that. It was something that included what's called gross sales receipt tax estimate, where you're being taxed on ticket sales, food and beverage expected sales, merchandise expected sales, and sponsorships, which to me was a shocker to see all of that at that moment being asked to be prepaid.
So you're being asked to prepay taxes on things you may or may not sell during the course of a festival.
And in the event your estimate is off, we will refund you the difference, or if there is a refund, or it can go the other way. If we think you underestimated, then it's going to go higher. So that was a new one for me, and that was a new one for our finance team. I think early on there was a reference that you may have to pay gross receipt sales tax, but it wasn't like there was a real clear conversation about it. In fact, I think even in the document that we got, there's just still ambiguities as to which agency was that on behalf of. Was that on behalf of the state, the city, the county? So definitely some confusion on that for us, but the sticker shock was when we did the math, when you, between the LAPD deployment, which was going to be almost 88 officers per day to get started, in the event that they needed to deploy more, that would have all been on our tab. We had estimated that we knew LAPD was going to have to deploy something, but it was far lower than what we had expected. And I don't sit here blaming the individual officers that were at the table working with us day in and day out. I think they were earnestly trying to figure it out. But I do kind of question the environment that we were in when you just look at a month earlier. There had been the quote-unquote takeover of Newport Beach, and there were horse-drawn or horseback, police and, chasing folks off of the beach. I think there was a lot of sort of internal hysteria and concern around that. The fire.
Although that wasn't exactly a jazz crowd.
Not at all. Right. For us, it was just like these are going to be just anyway. I won't stereotype our crowd, but I know who was buying the tickets.
Apples and oranges.
Apples
Let's
and
put
oranges,
it that way.
absolutely.
Okay, and then fire.
And then fire. On that, it was just the escalation of really a couple of things. In LA, there is 8 levels of what you call medical plan based on the type of incident. 8 is the highest. We were assessed a level 7 medical plan. And a level 7 medical plan not only called for ambulances, doctors, nurses, paramedics, EMTs, but we were also being required to build unprecedented levels of plastic snap-on ground cover that you could literally drive a truck on. It was like building a basketball court out on the sand for a beach festival. And when you look at our blueprints, they were just growing in terms of the numbers. Our first estimate from a vendor that was committed and had the level of equipment that we were going to need and supplies was almost $900,000 for that ground cover. We started negotiating and see if we could pull it back. By the time we got to the final number on that, when you add the ground cover, you add all of the personnel and all the equipment required for the level 7, all the LAPD deployment, all of the gross receipt sales tax estimates, we were looking at $1.6 million that was never even remotely thought of in our budget. Did we expect to pay for paramedics? Absolutely. We had them in our budget. Did we expect there would be LAPD? Absolutely. We had that in our budget. We did not expect to see anything on the level that we got back.
Of $1.2 million.
1.6 when you add up all the costs between the public costs and the private costs required to build the elements that they require.
How can we have any kind of entertainment event or festival or anything, a new thing that's not owned by massive corporate interests, certainly anything black owned or independently produced, when you have unknown costs coming in at the final hour? Oh, by the way, we need another 1.6 million. How is that feasible if I'm not a giant Live Nation level company?
Yeah, and again, I'll love the question.
Could it be blamed on you? Should you have known that it was going to be 1.2? Like, what should you have done differently, and what should we have done differently? Because to me, it sounds like the government, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but it sounds like people were trying to shut it down. You got to pay taxes in advance on merch that you may or may not sell.
Yeah, there's been more than a number of people that feel like we were stunned. Our whole team was stunned. But, again, just want to say for anybody sort of tuned in on this, we absolutely had security. I think we had actually put 100 security officers in our budget. We had LAPD. We expected there would be some LAPD deployment that we would have to cover. We had paramedics. But the escalation to the
level 7.
It was just
they're going to have a bunch of dead jazz fans. I mean, what
honestly,
is happening?
It felt like it was an emergency response before there was ever an emergency.
Right.
And that's what it hit us like. But anyway, your specific question is, could it, how could it get done? I think there's going to be a postmortem after this. I know a number of council members have reached out, and they have indicated, look, if a developer was going to build a building, we can tell them right now at the very beginning, what size, how many bedrooms, and there are codes. There's a formula. Right. And they're going to get you down to, hey, $300 per square foot, $400 per square foot.
You know in advance.
You're going to know that in advance before you get going. Here it was a complete opposite. And that is I think it's a keen insight, and I appreciate you even raising it.
I mean, to me, it's like we are supposed to be the entertainment capital of the world. How can we have nice things if we don't all cooperate to build nice things?
Yeah, so parts that I'm going to always, look back on and just be like, this is year one. What did we learn from it? I think it is going to take a will of government to say this is important and we want to help and we want to figure out a way to do it. It's not just about, telling us, hey, you need this, you need that, you need that. No, it's partner with us. And, this really was more the county driving it. With the county beaches and harbors were in charge. This is the process that they had just set up. And ironically, this is a fact. If you want to do an event on the beach, if you want to just rent a spot to do a family event or whatever, they don't even allow you to start the process until you're 90 days prior to the event. Think about that. We announced this 6 months prior to the event, and they had to figure out how to change the portal just so that we could even, begin to start to upload some of the forms. And then finally, there really wasn't like a process. I think people were trying to figure it out. And again, so when I think about the individual people that were at that table with us, I think most of them were seriously trying to figure it out. But there wasn't like a manual. There wasn't a blueprint. Hey, pull out manual on how to build a mega event on our coastline. And that, I think, is an honest, and I think all of them at the table would agree, we were throwing stuff at these guys every meeting. That was just like an open ad hoc process, just whatever was on somebody's mind, they just fired it off, and we would have to respond to that. And all of a sudden, you'd see the price tag go up, and then there'd be the next point. You have to respond to that. Price tag would go up. And it was just like an open feeding frenzy. And at some point, whether you're a restaurant owner, you're a grocery store owner, you got a small shop, a gas station, or whatever, there's a process for how you get permitted, and it's very clear. In city, county, state have those. And I think the final point is this was multi-jurisdictional, as I said at the beginning. So how do we learn from this? How do we figure out how do you pull off a multi-jurisdictional experience that can be affordable to a non-mega corporation? The state, the county, the cities that are involved, there's got to be a way to do it, and that doesn't seem like rocket science.
You said year one, so that means you're planning to do it again? You're planning to try it again?
Right now I'm trying to figure out how do we first cover still the debt that's on this one. We still have a lot of debt, and I'm working on it literally every hour. And we have a lot of reputational damage to fix.
Yeah, no doubt.
This has been devastating to everybody involved. It's not just me. There are other people who have relationships impacted. And so, right now, I think the interest by more people than I'm hearing from on a daily basis is don't let it go. Don't let the vision go. And that's where most of our mindset is now. How do we wrap this one up professionally?
So when you say investment, you're talking about all the people hours, all the people that were hired, the musicians' deposits,
yep.
Equipment, like what other kinds I know you commissioned artwork.
Yeah, we commissioned art. We didn't buy really much equipment. That mostly was coming through vendors that were going to provide the equipment that we were working out agreements with. But yeah, it's staff hours, it's professional consultants, it's finalizing the remaining artist deposits, and then honestly preparing for some sponsors who want their money back. There are a couple of sponsors that have said, hey, you didn't finish, so we need our money back. And so we are refunding all ticket buyers. So anybody that purchased tickets, all that money goes back. So there's a lot to still unpack, clean up. And then I think you get to the point of, okay, now what did we learn? Can you pull it off again?
Can it actually be done?
Yeah.
If you're not a mega corporation? And, I think that would be a sad commentary on the state of the entertainment capital if we cannot support an independent producer in creating a new institution and taking it across the finish line.
Well, I will say this was not easy for anybody. It sure wasn't easy for us. It wasn't easy for government. I do think, there's some things that I'll sort of save because I don't want to put them out there just out of respect. But, if there's a will, there's a way. And I know our team had the will, and we're looking for just folks in power to really support that. The community supported it. And, that's always going to be the most painful element of this. Thinking back to year one, is just the level of disappointment, level of frustration. But, if an individual has an idea, has a vision, has a dream, you go for it. It's not always going to end pretty. You got to be ready for that side. And I'm obviously taking it, every day, but got to keep going.
But it sounds like you are still considering putting this thing on its feet.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, even as I said at the beginning of the interview, the conversations with the musicians, first and foremost, have been the most heartwarming. Folks who live here in LA love this idea, want to be involved, and are really encouraging us to figure out how to do it again next year. It's going to take key investors. I think it's going to be very hard to get corporate LA to come in and support, just given all of the backlash that's happened from the postponement. Never saw that coming, by the way. It is a postponement. I think there was one TV news story that went up immediately. It was very reckless. We were not even planning to start building the site until literally tomorrow for the big weekend. And they ran this story almost a week and a half ago that there's nothing being built. Well, take a look at our construction plans and what we agreed with the county, the city, and the state. We weren't even going to start building until tomorrow. We by the coastal permit, we had approval to be on site Wednesday, the 19th. We were negotiating to get access today for Monday, and we still hadn't gotten it all done, but we were getting real close.
Just like I saw a story from a magazine that said, well, we contacted people from jazz festivals and they weren't booked for a panel. I'm like, did you call all of the artists and see if they were booked for shows? and I only point that out not to just to be defending, but also when I'm encouraging our KBLA delegation, when you see these stories, especially internet posts, to run it by the sniff test and think about in your mind, if this person knows what they're talking about or what, if what they're saying makes sense. Because there's a lot of really wild stuff right now about the LA Jazz Festival on the internet. And I think that we could do ourselves a disservice if we just buy into it without at least vetting. Martin Ludlow is here. The LA Jazz Festival is his project, and we are telling the story of what really happened. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Seriously speaking, every Saturday when I hear the program about Altadena and how it may not come back, that's happening to us. This is the largest land grab since the gold rush in California. We have an EDD property, 59,000 square feet. Our elected representative determined that she should write a bill that would declare it to be surplus. So now guess what we're getting? Affordable housing. So I hope that we can start listening to one another, because there is a domino effect. If you don't care about us, guess what? We won't be here and then you won't be here.
Not letting them get away with anything. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right, you save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Martin Ludlow is my guest. He's a creator of the LA Jazz Festival, and I'm hearing that maybe it'll happen in the future. What would you say? This is a loaded question, but I don't even know how to ask it. What would you do differently? I mean, some of these things are beyond your control. Some, maybe there is a protective factor.
Yeah, I think the first one is really starting earlier in terms of the formal launch. Most people don't know this, but we got very close to launching the LA Jazz Festival 3 times over the last 3 years. And each time we got close, it was because we had a title sponsor that was almost at that point of saying yes. And for folks out there that have launched festivals and have done big productions, I think what I'm about to say will resonate. You really can't dive in to the formal planning until you have been funded. You really do have to have the seed money to start. And everybody starts off with the same question in the sponsorship world. Yeah, who's performing? They want to know who's performing. So, and I think most of the folks who are listening, who are in the entertainment or music world, know that to be pretty much a fact. If you're going to do a concert, you're going to do a tour, you're going to do a festival, they always want you to start off with the talent. We have the venue in terms of agreement by the state. We've had that since 2021. But even in that permit, it still requires that you have to start working with all the local agencies. So there's all those elements. We didn't get our title sponsor confirmed until January. And that was a moment of truth where it was like, should we go? Should we pause? Will we ever get this moment again? And, I remember it was a gut check, to your point, after 15 years of trying to get this going and then really getting hit with the pandemic, which set us back, and then coming out of the pandemic, trying to get large brands like Coca-Cola, Budweiser, and some of the other big ones that traditionally get behind big music festivals. Could you give them the confidence that you were, at that moment you could launch? And we were blessed to have Airbnb come on. They were a perfect match for us. Their whole mission is trying to create those unique destination opportunities for people that traditionally can't afford those. There are a lot of people in the community that actually make money by putting their home up on Airbnb. So for us, it was just a perfect partnership. And when they said we're in, we immediately launched, because that was the seed money we needed to start pulling in the artists, paying the deposits, and actually starting to get all of the professionals that we needed to begin meeting with the government. And everybody moved fast. And I think that's probably the biggest reflection in terms of, should we have just held off and try to pull it another year?
Well, thank you for coming in and talking. I know, initially there was, you got a balance between what the lawyers say and what the comms people say, and I think the public really wanted to hear from you. So thank you.
I'm anxious to talk. I for anybody that wants to interview, I'm just, I'm anxious to talk, because this vision. Maybe somebody else will pull it off. Maybe it won't be me. I don't know what the future has for me. I know we gotta finish up what we started. We still got a lot of fees that we've got to cover. That's going to be me personally, and I am going to do everything I can to make that happen, and then we can talk about moving forward. So,
and anyone who bought a ticket,
getting refunded.
they should just go to the LA Jazz Festival website?
No, through the process that they purchase it, that system will automatically start kicking it out. And
I gotcha.
yeah, but they,
Wherever
people
you
can
bought
go
it.
to the website or go back to the platform where they purchase it and start the refund. But even if you don't get the time, and if you don't have the time, it's going to happen. And we're, our team is making sure that those are the first things that get handled.
Yeah. Well, we just have a minute left here, and I still have a lot of things I would ask you, but I'm going to hand you the mic and ask you what you want to leave folks with. It's certainly a huge burden for you, your company. I hope that, you, the company, and the vision survive. What would you leave us with this morning?
You don't often see the ramifications of a vision that doesn't work. This didn't work this year, and the ramifications have been substantial. I've really been blown away by the level of media coverage. And I know that when we were just a few weeks out trying to figure out where we're going to get these, final approvals to dive in, we looked at a report that showed our global media impressions, and it wasn't just social media, it was all media. We were at 500 million impressions and projected to hit 800 million impressions by the weekend. And no matter what happens in the future, that is something that everybody that was involved, all the artists, all the professionals, the event producers, everybody involved, the funders, the sponsors, take a lot of pride in that, because that is just a statement that was, you just don't see that every day.
Martin Ludlow, thank you. It's also a statement that there's a desire for this thing to happen. We got to leave it there. It is time to pass the mic. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your story with me this morning. You can find me at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. And, of course, you can go to the LA Jazz Festival website. It's still functioning. Like my dad, the late, great Amiri Baraka, used to say, a person is either free or they are not free. There can be no apprenticeship for freedom. Until tomorrow, my KBLA delegation, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BINAs Now. The investigation continues into a shooting at a Robbins, Illinois restaurant that left Black Mayor Darren Bryant with minor injuries. Village spokesman Sean Howard.
Fortunately, it was isolated. The mayor wasn't the intended target, and we're just praying for everyone involved.
Authorities say the suspected gunman was fatally shot by